Random disclaimer.
It's the only person that I serve. My mom ain't here. My mama was sacrificed. Feels like it might be a lot of that in order to control, traumatize. They want to monetize and traumatize.
The protests had started at 3 in the afternoon.
Gotcha.
What is up, Booty Tribe? It is your girl Naja here, and I am back with another video. And I was kind of dreading doing this video. I did a poll to see if my audience wanted to see this. As you guys can see, this was the vote. Look, I wasn't gonna do it, but I decided I'm gonna go ahead and talk about it because things have come full circle, and I feel like I can give a pretty good theory on what I think is going on. Okay, so before I even start, I'm just gonna let you know right now, we got some housekeeping rules. So I guarantee you some of y'all might not agree with what I'm going to say in this video. With that being said, I do not want any anti-semitism, homophobia, racism, none of that, all right? None of that, please. That is why I was even scared to even do this in the first place, okay? So none of that. Immediately delete, blocked. Bye. I'm not gonna ramble too much. I do have a list of bulletin points just so I can keep myself on track because there is a lot of info, okay? So let's just start with what even started this whole thing, the ad. So for those of you guys that have not seen the ad but somehow stumbled upon this video, the ad featured children in I guess playrooms. It reminded me of this one idea done by this one photographer where they show children and they take out all of their toys living in different countries, and they show like what each child plays with, right? So I immediately thought it was a gag on that concept, but the toys shown were not toys. There were beer cans, there were wine flutes. I understand some children drink wine in some countries, but it was accompanied with things you cannot explain, such as harnesses. And I'm still early in the video. What am I at the 3-minute mark? Okay, I could say it. BDSM wear was on the teddy bears that these children were carrying.
On Balenciaga's website, you'll find this image, and in the background, you'll see this book. This book right here is by Michael Borman. In this book, you'll find a series of paintings of children dressed in robes doing some kind of ritual. Some of the paintings look like there are people eating bodies. The same artist also created Fire from the Sun, which includes small and large-scale works that feature toddlers engaged in playful but mysterious acts with sinister overtones and insinuations of violence. These paintings are super disturbing. This book at the bottom is the Cremaster cycle. If you look up Cremaster, you'll find Cremaster 3, which is a movie about the murder and resurrection of the amount of symbolism that people have uncovered from these Balenciaga photo shoots is deeply concerning.
Rightfully so, the internet, the world was outraged and just very uncomfortable because, like, why is this a thing? These are children, you know? So I immediately went on the site to see, like, well, what is this? Was this a prop? Like, was this a toy? Like, what is this? It was a bag, for adults, and Balenciaga does sell children's clothes, so that was a thing. My immediate response was, I think that companies that sell things that are in the adult sphere should not cross-pollinate with selling things to kids because of stuff like this. Like, because no matter what, it's still, that child could have still stumbled upon it and, like, you know, seen it, even if they were just window shopping, because let's keep it a buck, right? Even if they were just window shopping because they saw, like, you know, Balenciaga this, Balenciaga that, and then they saw that, you know, it's very suggestive to children, right? That's not the part we're going to disagree on, y'all. Don't worry. I don't get down like that. No. I just wanted to show you what started this whole thing, the ad. It just made a lot of people uncomfortable, right? Once this ad started going around, people started digging into Balenciaga. They started digging into who was responsible for this, right? And they came up with the creative director, the CEO, creative director, whatever, is into some very dark imagery, and it was a lot of stuff involving children, like artwork involving children, lots of like Renaissance paintings with sacrificing children, like just very dark stuff.
So this behind me is Lota Volkova and her Instagram post, and she has been one of the main stylists for Balenciaga since 2014. What people notice in the first glance is that she really liked young looking boys. In a lot of her photos also she featured a lot of boys who look very young. But yeah, that's normal, right? A lot of people just like younger looking models. And then it progressed. People also found a picture yang dia pernah post about a juvenile facility, Pusat Juvana. Actually for a veterans campaign, which is a fashion clothing brand. If you know, Juvana or juvenile is a place where underage kids go if they do something bad. So yeah, she also featured a picture of a juvenile facility blood, which I think is one of the set. She also really like teddy bear and always put them in a very weird position, as you can see here.
And you know, the thing is, I'm all for expression and art. I'm an artist, you know. I feel like you can dissect artwork and interpret any type of art. You get what I'm saying? But my thing is, it's like, I feel like it was a art turned reality moment for this person. You know, I feel like there was sick intentions behind it, you know, and that is that person singularly, right? Now, why Balenciaga hired them? That's why I'm like, okay, now why are you over here trying to sue the dude who you hired to take these photos, and you're not gonna beat your own ass for hiring? You know why? Because, and this is my conspiracy, allegedly, whatever my opinion, because y'all know y'all hired her based off of her aesthetic, which is this gore, shock jock, weird, occultist, whatever. You get what I'm saying? Y'all hired her for that. Y'all hired her for that. So you're trying to find somewhere to put the blame when you knew what you were doing. There's so much of this suggestive stuff in so many other photo shoots, and it's like, look, if that's what y'all want to, how y'all want to express yourselves, cool. But I feel like adding the actual live children in as a prop, cross the line completely. So now let's get into how this got bad, okay? Because you know it always gets bad. We are in a post-political era, COVID political era, post-January 6th era, where conspiracies can become dangerous real quick. So you guys remember the chart, right? The conspiracy chart, okay? So I want you guys to keep it in mind, right? Do you guys see in the conspiracy chart where it says MK Ultra? Okay, this actually happened. Our government has provided documents. It's a horrible thing that our government admits that they did do to innocent civilians in our country, as well as military, all that stuff. You guys can go and look that up on your own time, right? But long story short, it was adopted from Germany during a not so good time. We brought some doctors over here, and we were continuing doing certain practices, and some people brought over certain ideologies. What's the way I could explain it? I guess like hypnosis tactics, stuff like that. And this was all over the world, you know. At this time, governments were doing this. Like Russia was trying to do mind control, stuff like that. Like this was a thing, right? Once the project MK Ultra was disbanded, people were fired and everything. Those ideologies and those mind control and all of the seeds planted and all of that stuff and all of the trauma that was bestowed on certain people to get control of their mind didn't just magically go away. Those tools to do that didn't just magically go away.
Starting in the early 40s, Dr. Cameron used sleep-induced comas, massive doses of electroshock therapy, LSD, sensory deprivation, forcing patients to listen to hours of recorded messages on tapes. His goal? To control his patients' minds to cure mental illness.
No one signed to be experimented on. Nobody.
His controversial research caught the attention of the CIA in the 50s, eventually being funded as part of MK Ultra, a program the CIA developed during the Cold War to learn about mind control. The federal government also funded his work. Eventually, some of his patients from the 50s and 60s received some compensation from the CIA and the federal government. But Marlene's family was told they didn't qualify because her aunt was a patient before the funding began. Her 1948 medical records show 9 electroshock treatments and 28 sleep-induced comas in less than a month.
She could not live a normal life. She could not get married. She could not have children. She was deprived of all those things.
I felt like I was spinning into spinning with a faster and faster, and I always thought, is this how it feels to die? And I never knew if I'd ever come out of it. And it really, I didn't like it. It really left me feeling very, very angry and very depressed afterward. And I didn't like all the pills that I was taking. I couldn't swallow them with water because they were always afraid that I wouldn't keep them down.
He says he became a psychiatrist to unravel the horror of what happened to his dad, Louis Weinstein.
Went in one winter evening and was put to sleep for approximately 2 months. He was given shock treatments of various kinds, gradually building intensity to an intensity and a frequency that was not certainly the routine or standard of the time.
Morrow went to study psychiatry under him. Instead, Cameron persuaded her to become a patient at the Allen. He drugged her, shocked her massively, erased 10 years of her memory, and even today, she has difficulty remembering some names and faces. He was injected with LSD, put to sleep for 23 days, hit with the massive electric shocks, and brainwashed with the recorded messages.
I've never been able to sleep without medication since the sleep treatment. I went through years and years and years of severe depressions.
We were very surprised, of course, and angered, and I would say somewhat frustrated that nobody really intervened on these patients' behalf. Later on we found out that it was a collaborative work between the Canadian government and the American government, the CIA and the Canadian government, who actually condoned this experimentation on unknowing victims, actually.
That's the fact, right? That is the fact. We're still in green zone. These are facts, right? These are facts, okay? Then it gets into the red zone because, remember, it didn't go away. Certain people did adopt these tactics, and we're still in the green zone when I say this, and unfortunately some people, such as like doctors, military of this time that was involved in that operation, did go ahead and use it on their children. Not always SA, so please don't get it twisted. It's not always SA. Sometimes it is. Please go read the document because I can't get too much into detail on YouTube because I don't want to spread misinformation. But these tactics are used to, help their family go up corporate ladders and stuff like that, like to be good academics, to be good athletes, like stuff like that, right?
Some of the most brutal drug and electroshock treatment was administered to Val Orlico of Winnipeg, the wife of New Democratic MP David Orlico.
That actually happened. That actually, as documented, happened, right, back in the day. This is like so long ago. This is like in like they just restarted talking about the people who were victims of this crime, started coming out about their stories, I'll say, in like the 90s. So these are real people's accounts. I remember I even saw one girl who, and this is how I know like it's a generational thing, and like, some people in Hollywood and stuff like that still do, or like up in political spheres or political families will still do this stuff because you still see it in our modern day time, right?
I was born into this world of sex trafficking. It's the only life I've ever known. My whole life I traveled all over the world and would go to some of the biggest events to meet clients and have sex with them. They were all extremely rich and prominent members of society.
Have you ever watched the Dr. Phil show?
Yes. It scared me.
Yeah? What scared you about it?
you're a rich white guy, and that scared me. I thought that you maybe know him. And also, like, you don't seem to like it when people lie, and I feel like all of these things are lies.
What do you mean that all these things are lies?
Yeah, well, the reality is, like, what's happened. The truth is that none of that was bad.
You tell me what he thinks. What do you think?
I'm confused.
Do you think he's a sick son of a bitch?
No.
You know, in 1994, in the early 90s, we had no idea. It was the sex trafficking ring was just developing. So to carry that around with me for 2.5 decades, the shame, and it wasn't just the shame, it was the terror that they instilled in us. The psychological manipulation is something that I really wish that I had the vocabulary for, because I wish I could explain it so people could understand.
We just saw the Ghislaine Maxwell getting arrested for all this trafficking. You get what I'm saying? Like, these are green areas. This just happened. Now, you want to talk about Epstein doing stuff to himself? Now, that is the area where we just don't know, and we can have talks over blizzies and debate. You get what I'm saying? But we're still in the green area, right? It gets to the red area when people decide who these elites are that have this access to this mind control.
You know, out in Hollywood, a lot of people come up missing. Feels like it might be a lot of that in order to control, traumatize. They want to monetize and traumatize.
Are y'all following me? Once you start talking about elites, y'all, no, because it has a connotation of talking about Jewish people. It can get really dicey when people try to associate, because and how this all goes hand in hand. This woman, this CEO woman, the creative director, showed a lot of imagery associated with some of the teachings that were brought over with those experiments, right? So people are putting 2 and 2 together, and like it's just getting, once you start adding on to anything other than documents released about an experiment that happened damn near like 80 years ago, it gets really dicey, and it always goes back to one thing: the people with the most money. And who is that? And like, you get what I'm saying? It gets really anti-Semitic. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why Kanye was laughing and why he was already selling his Balenciaga day one when he saw that the ads going around, and so he already knew, and he was like, yeah, I gotcha.
So I'm telling you, this Christmas, this Thanksgiving, whatever Adidas wants to drop, and you know that was a design that we put in, those are good by me. And hopefully this can like heal, this can heal some of the bleeding. Also, I know another thing is, for everyone in contracts, I know that this will never happen again in history. There will never be a situation where people end a multi-billion-dollar deal off of a tweet. Gotcha. Gotcha.
What do you see now? Now you see people splurting around anti-Semitic rhetoric all on Twitter, talking about how the owners of Balenciaga are Jewish people, and it's just tons of dog whistling. Like, guys, please. When I tell you, I literally sat here and dug. I read like damn near 200 freaking CIA documents last week, just because I wanted to know what the hell was going on, because it's so easy for people to just fall on to do some scapegoat stuff.
DHS, as in Department of Homeland Security, issued a warning to Jews, queer people, and migrants about domestic terror.
So, Hallie, this is the latest bulletin from the National Terrorism Advisory System. They've been putting out regular bulletins about every 6 months since January 6th, the insurrection at the Capitol, where they're really going through the details and the concerns that they have about domestic violent extremism, not looking anymore at ISIS and Al-Qaeda, but focusing instead on Americans who are radicalized by violent ideologies. And the three that they highlighted today in the newest bulletin that just came out goes into threats to the LGBT community. Again, looking at that shooting recently in Colorado Springs and how people were celebrating it, motivated by it online. They're looking at a lot of times on the online rhetoric following these events. Also looking at anti-Semitism, following someone in New Jersey who had a paragraph where he came out against synagogues there. And then I asked specifically these DHS officials, what about Kanye West? What about his anti-Semitic rhetoric? What about former President Trump meeting with Kanye West and that white supremacist? They said, look, all of that, whenever you have public figures who are continuing to spread this violent ideology, that is a problem, and it spreads it more rapidly online.
With all that being said, guys, all I wanted y'all to do is really like go deep into what you like are spewing out. You get what I'm saying? Like with like the whole elites and stuff like that, like it can get very, very, very slippery. Okay, it's a very slippery slope. With that being said though, that is no excuse for these celebrities to not be outspoken about that ad. That ad was inappropriate. It was what's the word I could use? Encouraging. It was encouraging a certain message. It was very uncomfortable. Like, and then let's keep it a buck. It's not like everybody can afford Balenciaga. The people that can, y'all just decided to just not to. The BDSM ad was horrible. Let's stop acting like Kim Kardashian. And I know because some people are gonna think I'm like being pro Kim Kardashian just because I'm very anti-Kanye right now. No, because she also had her daughter in some Balenciaga gimp mask BS. And let's keep it a buck, Kim. You are the Marilyn Monroe of our time. You got on for having a sex tape. You know what the fuck BDSM is. Keep it a buck. You knew what that was. And that's why Kanye be so freaking scared of her pimping out their kids, and he merges that in with the Hollywood MK Ultra stuff, and that's when we get back to the elitism and boom, anti-Semitism. Be careful. It's a circle as old as time, and it gets recycled so much. You have to be careful, because what we don't want to do is repeat history. And my last little note that I have on this is, and I'm just going to read it verbatim. The issue isn't solely in Hollywood. It's powerful consumers being blind, eyes wide shut, okay? This isn't just a Hollywood thing, all right? This isn't just let me finish saying one of the shirts said, I'm voting for whoever can keep me in Balenciaga. Who is actually funding this? It is not just Jewish people. It is not just Caucasian people. It is not just men. These are people in power who have a certain demand for something. Do you get what I'm saying? And it's something we just won't understand because we're just not there, I guess. I don't know. But all I'm going to leave y'all with is I am not going to deny that the ad was disgusting. The ad was distasteful. The woman behind the ad has really odd taste. Not my taste. But I feel like we need to be very careful with these anti-Semitic slopes. Like, you gotta be very, very, very careful. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say. Please monitor what your kids are watching online and consuming online. I have another conspiracy coming up that's actually local in my city. So that's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be fun. I'm gonna be outside. I'm gonna be out here. It has to do with UFOs. So if you're into aliens and all that stuff, and this one's an actual conspiracy that I know a lot of people know about. So it's gonna be really cool to see what you guys' theories are and stuff. So yeah, that's it. All right, bye. Bye.
Hey, yo.